It's time for book. Today we're talking about how do you avoid wasting your money with marketing. You know that famous quote, I can't think of the guy's name. I should have written this down before I went live. Half of your money in marketing is wasted. If you just knew which half, we'd all be rich, right? Well, we're going to talk about a process so you can think about not wasting your money, but being more efficient, converting better with higher quality leads. We've got a whole host of questions. I think you're going to love this one. It's time for Book of Experts TV.
Time for Book of Experts TV.
Topics you love.
Experts you trust.
Friction-free referrals.
Tried,
Tested,
Trusted.
This is Book of Experts, brought to you by salesman.me. All right, so welcome to Book of Experts. Tim Fitzpatrick, excited. Tim Fitzpatrick from Rialto Marketing and joining us from the Denver area. So welcome aboard.
Yes, I am. Thanks for having me, Tobin.
Yeah, super excited to talk to you because you know what, this topic is, this is what people need to know about, right? Every expert-based business that we talk to, every business owner out there is saying, I don't have money to waste on my marketing, but it's fuel for the engine. So I think this will be very much of interest to folks. Before we go there though, tell us a little bit, Tim, about your background, because you've got an interesting story. You built up a distribution wholesaler business. That was acquired. You started the marketing business. I'd love to hear a little bit of background from you and how you made that shift. Maybe 6-8 years into the marketing side of the business?
Yeah, about that. So I got involved in wholesale distribution right after college. I was very fortunate to get involved in that, but I ended up running that business. I was a partner in it. I was the only day-to-day partner that was managing it on a day-to-day basis. So I learned more doing that in 6 months than I did in 4 years of college. So it was an amazing experience, and we were in at a good time, and our business just grew very rapidly. We were growing about 60% a year, and then we got acquired. I worked for that company for another 3 years, and then after that, I actually transitioned and got into residential real estate. I was in residential real estate for about 3 years. And man, I went from a high to a very low point. It was just, I was not enjoying it. You know, I was starting to have some success, but man, I was working so hard and I was not making as much money. I was knocking on doors, helping people get out of foreclosure, but everybody had a piece of that commission, you know, the banks, my brokerage. And I was like, man, I dread getting out of bed every day. I got to do something different. And so that's when I shifted and started thinking about, well, you know, what do I want to do? At the time, mobile applications were really hot. And so I started Rialto, and initially we were offering mobile applications into the K-12 education space. And about 2 or 3 years into that, Apple had a really big shift in their publishing guidelines that slowed things down a lot. And I was like, man, my livelihood is tied to Google and Apple policies, and this is not a good place to be. So that's when I shifted gears again, and we started offering more comprehensive, holistic marketing services to help small businesses grow, which is where we are today. So, like everybody's journey, the path I started on is not where I am today. Things change. So
I love that diagram of the entrepreneur's journey, right? It looks like a bunch of squiggle marks. We want to go up and to the right, but it's really the squiggle marks. And I think there's something interesting here because, you and I share this in common, but a lot of times when you enter into a business or a sector or an industry, you do see things from the inside, sometimes troubling things that make you course correct. Yeah. And there's a lot to be learned from that for others who haven't had that experience yet. Yeah. So if I go to you in Rialto, I'm gaining those years of wisdom that you've gathered and being able to see that not building, putting all your eggs in one basket and building under one big banner, because we've seen it, the Google slaps, the Apple takedowns, like Amazon in the e-commerce space, like all those big names, they're out for their business, not necessarily ours. So owning your list, there's a bunch of strategies we can talk about, but owning your list and being able to control your destiny is always, that's preferable here.
Always a good thing.
Yeah, especially if you felt that pain of having a business essentially taken out from under you. And I have some friends where, they lost thousands overnight, literally half their business revenue went away just because of a policy change. So I hear you 100%. So tell us, I know you're bringing 3 things today, Tim. Tell us, let's start with the first. And again, we're looking at this as a frame of reference. I wish I had grabbed that quote of the, this was like 100 years ago, but really famous guy in the advertising world who said, if I could just figure out which half of my money I'm wasting and which half is working,
right?
Marketing, advertising space. But how do you stop wasting money and actually make it go longer? Because no small business is going to have, unlimited runway there.
Yes. So my opinion is that you got to start with the marketing fundamentals first. A lot of businesses skip the fundamentals because they're not cool, they're not sexy, but inevitably they run into problems. Things aren't working and they're not sure why. And it almost always comes back to the fundamentals. So, I love this quote from Michael Jordan. He said, "Get the fundamentals down and the level of everything you do will rise." The marketing fundamentals are, frankly, the fundamentals in whatever discipline you're in, they don't change. They're the same. They were the same 25 years ago. They're going to be the same 25 years from now. So when I look at the marketing fundamentals, I call them the marketing strategy trilogy. You've got to know who your target market is. You got to have good messaging, and you have to have a plan that you can follow. So if we look at the first one, your target market, the first part of your target market is who are your ideal clients? Right? Who are you trying to serve? Too many businesses, you ask them who they serve, and it's like, well, everybody, right? I mean, that's not focused enough. When you are trying to reach everyone, you reach no one because it's too hard. So you've got to sit down and look at who are my 1 to 3 ideal client types that I want to market to. And that's where you're going to focus your marketing efforts. So you've got to understand, from an ideal client standpoint, who do you love working with? Who do you do the best work for? And who's profitable? That's a great place for an existing business to start to try and identify these 1 to 3 groups of people that they really want to target.
Yeah, I love that measuring stick of, the profitability is, of course, people talk about that, but who do you really enjoy working with? The energy behind that's going to keep you going through the tough days, right?
Yes.
And then where do you get your best outcomes? Because if folks you're working with are starting their sentence with anyone or everyone, they're already they're not niched down enough. They're too broad, and the phrase I've heard is "broad is broke." None of us want to be there. So.
Yeah. One, it's so hard for people to, when you're talking with people and they say, who do you work with? And you're too general, it's hard for them to think of somebody, but if you say, well, I work with physical therapists, they're like, oh, okay. All of a sudden, maybe they don't know a physical therapist. Maybe they know somebody else that works with physical therapists or whatever. It's so much easier for them to start thinking of ways that they can connect you with other people. But your target market and your ideal clients, it gives you direction and focus. If you're trying to reach everyone, you're like, well, where do I go? If you're trying to reach physical therapists, you can start to dig and go, okay, great, I'm reaching physical therapists. What groups do they belong to? What associations are they part of? What magazines do they get or read? And then you can start to give you hints of, okay, where do I need to be? Maybe I need to join this association. Maybe I need to go to this trade show. Maybe I need to advertise in this magazine or on this website to get in front of that particular target market. It's so much easier when you have an idea of who you're trying to reach. And then from there, you can start to get a little bit more advanced to start to look at the customer journey and how you can get in front of and help meet the needs of those customers at each phase of the journey to help them move through the journey so that they start buying, doing repeat and referral business with you.
Yeah, I love this, and you anticipated where my next question was going to go, because there's some folks that will enter this challenge, this puzzle that we're talking about, and it does start with really nailing the who. You can't hit the target if you don't know what you're looking for. So getting that big challenge solved is the first step, and then the next one we start talking about conversion. So if you have the perfect, the ideal clients, you've got quality leads. What are you going to do with them? And I think that's where you're going with the customer journey. Am I right?
Yeah, you've got to have the customer journey. The way I look at the customer journey is an hourglass. They're saying at the top and it's working its way down. There are 7 phases there. There's know, like, trust, try, buy, repeat, and refer. So when you start to look at the customer journey, you need to understand what your prospect and your client's needs are, or what actions are they taking, what expectations do they have, what needs do they have at each of those phases. Because when you understand those, then you can start to look at, okay, what type of content or what types of systems or procedures do I need to have in place to meet the needs at each phase? Because if you meet the needs at each phase, you're going to help them move to the next. And they'll just slowly start moving down that hourglass until they're at that buy phase. And by the way, most people stop at the buy phase, but you've still got repeat and referral business, which is super, super important. So you've got to understand that and have things in place so that you can get that repeat and referral business as well.
All right. So I like the visual that we have, which is the hourglass, which is extending the funnel. So a lot of people are only seeing the top half. You've described the second half. Walk me through and walk us, because I think the audience is curious about this as well. Now, how do we get more efficient and make our money go further?
Well, I think the next step there is you've got to have good messaging. Okay, if you're messaging, we have super short attention spans. I think I saw a statistic that said our attention span, I think, is right about 8 seconds at this point, which is less than a goldfish. So if people land on your website or they read your email and they don't understand, it's not clear, it's not engaging, they're moving on. So you have to, if you want to convert and make your marketing dollars go further, you've got to have good messaging as that second step. So what you say, how you say it is so, so important. And we follow a storytelling framework where to do that. So you can go back to this playbook, and that's where you're pulling your messaging from every time. So you're not reinventing the wheel. Your messaging is going to be clear. It's going to be consistent, which is really important over time. And it's going to make all the difference in the world. When you've got really good messaging, it's clear, it's engaging, and it makes your business memorable and magnetic, which is exactly what you want.
Yeah, I like this, because I think that ability of knowing where to focus and what to focus on next, so that we're not scattershot, is part of this efficiency conversation that we're having right now. And knowing, being able to walk through these key points that people need to hear, depending on where they are. It's different, as you said, in different stages of that. So someone who's close to a buying decision, it's a different message. It's different messaging. It's a different conversation than the folks who are just entering the top of the funnel and they have no idea who you are. Maybe not even fully aware of what their options are. They're just trying to figure out, what is this pain and how do other people solve it?
Yeah. And well, it's you can see, if you don't understand who your target market is first, you can't create good messaging because you don't understand them. The first part of this is you have to really get to a point where you understand your target market better than they know themselves. Then you can start to create messaging that engages them. But when you use a storytelling framework, what you're doing is you're inviting your customer into a story, which we all love stories, where they are the hero and your business is the guide, right? A lot of businesses position themselves as the hero, but our customers aren't looking for a hero. They're looking for a guide that can solve the problem they have and help them get from where they currently are to where they want to be. And if you look at guides and stories, if you look, Yoda is already a Jedi. He knows exactly what Luke Skywalker needs to do to get to where he wants to go. Yoda actually is a very strong character. He doesn't have a lot of problems. He knows what's going on. Luke he's struggling, man. He's weak. He doesn't know what to do. He's lost. He needs help. And that guide is the strength that helps him get from one side of the bridge to the other to where they want to go. And that's when you use storytelling, that's exactly what you're doing. Positioning yourself as the guide that can help your customers get to where they want to go, which is really, really important.
I think that's a big shift that people don't realize, a shift in how we think. When you allow your for us, it's usually clients, but it might be customers in some case, to step in and be the hero of the story. That it's a psychological shift on our end that, and tie this again back, because I want to keep on the, marketing without wasting your money. When you make this shift and you help your people, your tribe, become the heroes of their own story, what does that do on the budget side of things?
It gives you a better return on what you're investing in, no matter what you're investing in, because if your messaging isn't good, you're not going to convert. So if I'm doing paid ads, driving them to a landing page that doesn't have good messaging that resonates with my ideal clients, I'm not going to convert as well, right? So my cost per conversions are going to go up. But if I have good messaging that's clear, that resonates with my target market and gets them to take action, my conversions go up, right? And I get a better return on my investment. If I'm doing SEO, driving traffic back to a website that doesn't have good messaging, it doesn't resonate with my clients, I'm flushing my SEO dollars down the toilet. If I take the time to invest in the messaging ahead of time, get good messaging on my website, then invest in SEO and drive traffic to that, I'm going to convert more of those leads, right? So that's how you get a better return on the money that you're investing. If you don't know who you're trying to reach and you don't have good messaging, you're just throwing dollars against a wall hoping that they stick. And you might get a return, but you're not going to get nearly as good of a return as you should or you could.
So what I heard there was make sure you're talking to the right people and be specific about that. And usually where folks are, you have to filter even more and be more specific than you even are comfortable with. But really nail that first piece. So you're talking to the right people with the right messaging and at the right time, because we talked before about
and consistent, right? In marketing, we talk about the marketing rule of 7, which says that people need to see your brand, your message, your offer at least 7 times before it starts to register. So if you're communicating a different message every time, it's not going to register with them. You need to be consistent over time, and it's going to register much, much faster. But if they see a different message here and a different message in another channel, it's not going to be nearly as effective.
Yeah, I hear you. And I want to clarify for the audience out there. So a lot of times when you hear this frequency or repetition factor, the classic example people talk about, why do folks walk down the aisle in the supermarket and buy Charmin instead of another brand? And they're thinking about these big dollars that are being paid on traditional channels like TV. But in our space, for you experts out there, it's about trust. Like when you show up and you show up consistently, and there's consistency in your messaging of what you're talking about. If one day you're talking about real estate and the next day it's a network marketing company and the day after that you're a coach, there's the inconsistency starts to cast a shadow on the trust factor of the very people that you want to work. So showing up consistently builds that trust, and that is part of this frequency or repetition factor that
absolutely. You hit the nail on the head. Right? If I'm communicating different things or talking about different things, each time somebody sees me there, who am I? Right? Whereas we're talking about the marketing fundamentals. That's what I talk about. So, at some point they see that enough. It's like, oh yeah, that's the guy that talks about the fundamentals. I need help with that.
So the last question I have for you, Tim, walk me through who are the right people for Rialto, and specifically, what should they do to sort of walk through the door and enter your world? If they've heard this, it resonates with them, they want to understand a little bit more, where does that conversation go for you?
Yeah, the best place to start is our website, which is rialtomarketing.com. I did put some stuff together for your listeners as well. So if they go to rialtomarketing.com /book-of-experts, there's some specific info about the marketing strategy trilogy that we've dug into today. Our ideal clients tend to be service-based businesses, so coaches, consultants, professional services, so attorneys, CPAs, those types of people, as well as home service businesses, so contractors, remodelers, those types of folks.
Interesting. Yeah, and I appreciate that you put something together specifically for this audience. So, Tim, it was great to hear a little bit more, learn more about your backstory, and understand the shift that you made in your own life and how it really prepared you for what you're doing now, and bringing this as you said, the way you framed it was that you learned more in the first 6 months of the distributor business.
Yes.
That was like your undergraduate. And then you did the business with the apps and all that, and learned that maybe that was your master's, and now you're on the marketing side, and this is your PhD.
There you go.
You've got this full education experience that you're bringing to the table. So we appreciate about that.
Yeah, absolutely, Tobin. I really appreciate it, man. I enjoyed the conversation. Yeah,
thanks for coming on. And for folks, you can, we've already heard that you can catch up and converse with Tim at rialtomarketing.com. He also shared, we'll make sure we get it in the notes, that he's got a special link just for Book of Experts. You can also learn more about all our experts at bookofexperts.com, where folks are able to, again, we think of it, what's the door that you can walk through to start the conversation with our experts? That's what our goal is, to try to make those conversations happen by creating this Wikipedia of experts, so we can see what folks are doing and the transformation, the impact they're making in the world. Appreciate your time, Tim. Thank you.
Thank you.